This is a message especially for all of the new arrivals in Ireland. We, the Irish people, have listened over the years while our government have classified you in very many different ways. They've called you asylum seekers, they've called you welfare tourists, they've called you international protection applicants. In fact, they've got all these different names for you guys, and we know that the only name that is appropriate is that you are here as guests of the government. So we're going to get rid of all those other titles that just confuse people and give you your proper respect and title, which is guests of the government. Now, as guests of the government, you may well find that that doesn't automatically mean that you have a welcome that stretches all across the country and all across the people of Ireland. There are many people in Ireland who are unhappy with the decisions that their government have made in relation to the new arrivals, i.e. the guests of the government. Now, I understand that many of you were invited by Roderick O'Gorman to come from impoverished parts of the world. We all know about the infamous tweet in which he invited country after country to come here because, as in his own words, we were scrapping direct provision and we were going to make sure that the people who came were given own-door accommodation, medical care, and all the benefits of being a guest of the government in Ireland. Now, there is a catch, and I had an email about a year ago from a young Ukrainian man, and he said, I love your videos, he said, but I have to explain something. He said, we didn't know when we came to Ireland that there was a housing crisis or even a housing problem. He said, we didn't know when we came to Ireland that there were hospital waiting lists, that there were people dying in corridors and being kept on trolleys in corridors for days. And then he said, we didn't know that. He said, we were told you all had, 2 houses each and 4 cars per house. 4 cars per house. I mean, that's what we were told, that the Irish were incredibly affluent and that they wanted to help. We believed, he said, that that was with the backing of the Irish people. Now, the Irish people have never been given the option to choose such a choice. They were never asked if we wanted to increase the population of the country by millions. The government decided, because of the orders they were receiving from Brussels, that Ireland was going to become a new place where the infrastructure could grow and sustain millions of more people. But you see, dear guests of the government, here's the bigger problem. There are many, many people in Ireland, my father was one of them, who came from other countries and made Ireland their home. And for that, they were extremely grateful. And they showed their gratitude by working hard, by obeying the laws, by respecting the people of Ireland, and never losing gratitude for the acceptance that they experienced here in Ireland. Me, myself, I had exactly the same experience in Killybegs in Donegal, where I grew up. Instead of being treated as an outsider and a freak, I was embraced and made to feel like part of the community. And to a young black kid who's the only black kid in an entire country, it seemed at that time, although I know for sure it was in Donegal, there weren't any black people. I could have been rejected and I could have been vilified and I could have been made to feel unwelcome, but the opposite was true. People opened their doors to me, people opened their hearts to me, and they were so sweet, It's like, cheers, little black fella, get him in here, we give him a cup of tea and a bit of apple tart. And I loved it. I loved it because it made me feel at home. And that welcome that I got is now absolutely being threatened by the actions of our government. Because you see, that welcome was something that Céad Míle Fáilte was all about. It was an extension to people less well off than ourselves, that they were welcome and that where we could, we would help them. And we've proven over the years that the Irish people will go out of their way to help those in need. But unfortunately, our government departed from the script of kindness and welcomeness and openness that I experienced. And now we have a whole generation of people whose very existence in Ireland is at risk because the government have decided to allow unknown numbers of unvetted people to come into the country and not chastise them, not punish them, but actually reward them. In Singapore, if you go into the country without your passport, you'll have your head chopped off. In India, you'll get 30 years in jail for entering the country without a passport. And as I've said here, you get a house, a medical card, and a Céad Míle Fáilte. So to the guests of the government, there's many things about Ireland that you won't understand, but I will try and fill you in on a few of them. Number one is, the Irish are not stupid. They're not fools. They know when the wool has been pulled over their eyes, and that's what they're all waking up to right now, is that this agenda, this globalist agenda, has nothing but disaster at its heart for the Irish people and for Ireland as a country. So for the new arrivals, you need to understand that the welcome which is extended to you ceases to exist if you will refuse to assimilate, if you refuse to become part of Ireland, if you refuse to understand the laws and respect them. And also the cultural differences between your country and ours are very vast in many cases. But you know, I'm not recommending compulsory Irish dancing for everybody, although it'd be a bit of crack. But I will say this, that coming to Ireland, just because our government have treated us like second-class citizens in our own country, doesn't mean we are. And we are a very quiet, unassuming, peaceful race with our fair share of gobshites and idiots like any country, and racists like any country. There's no exception when it comes to racism. It's not just a white thing, it's a black thing, it's a Chinese thing, it's a people thing, it's a human thing. People like to be around who they're comfortable being around, and to condemn them for that is wrong. So to the new arrivals who come here, I know that this might seem like a strange place to be, and I know that many of you who were offered all of the things that Roderick O'Gorman's tweet and our government offered you now find themselves not in their own door accommodation with their medical card, but in a tent up in Grand Canal dock. In a tent which is provided by the NGOs and the government, and you're handed a tent and say, good luck with that. And then a week or 2 weeks later, the government come back and tell you tents are illegal, you can't live in that, and they take your tent off you. That is the extent of the madness that Irish people are being witnessing every day now, and that they're seeing. And at the end of the day, the most important part of any country is its people. And the Irish people have proven that they're welcoming, they've proven their charity, they've proven that they're a compassionate people, but don't forget, they're not stupid. And what we're seeing now with our own political class, in our opinion, is the absolute destruction of a safe environment, not just for us to grow up and for our children to grow up in, but for you, the legal, documented immigrants who come to this country to work in their services, to help in our hospitals, to be doctors and nurses. And yes, there is a moratorium at the moment, apparently, on hiring Irish nurses. Look into that. Find out why that could be the case and why we're not hearing any Pascal O'Donoghue, Mary Lou McDonald, any of them talking about this. So we, of course, need immigration. We're a small country, but we need qualified, vetted immigration. What we don't need is to become a dumping ground for the rest of the world. And to those people that think that sounds alarmist, look at the crime rate. Despite what RT is telling you, look at what's happening all over Ireland. The Gardaí are in the front line. They choose to do that job. It comes with consequences. But also the politicians who choose to make these decisions seem to think that they can make them without any consequence. And that is patently obvious not the case now, because they are being held to account. And with the upcoming elections, I only pray that they're legitimate, because I think that should rid us of a lot of these traitors who've decided that there's more important things on their in tray than the Irish people. And that's what we've become, is just literally a number on the in tray. So when you think about coming to Ireland, when you think about living in Ireland, when you think about getting everything that Ireland has to offer, please understand that this is a temporary situation. And it is based on you conducting yourself properly. It is based on you respecting the people and the laws and their concerns. Just because these people are afraid of their own country being destroyed doesn't mean they hate you, doesn't mean they're racist towards you. They are quite simply concerned Irish people. And if you look at the law and the way things have been rolled out over the last few years, you'll begin to understand why. And if you've come here from a country fleeing war, then that is something that is unfortunate for you and is becoming unfortunate for us. We cannot house the world. We cannot continue to inflate the hospital waiting list with more people when it's already in crisis, or the housing situation, which is a catastrophe, and the government's plan is to add millions more people to that. Who are these people working for? Because they are not working for the Irish government. So as a guest of the Irish government, welcome. And I look forward to seeing how you interpret our kindness, our acceptance, and our welcoming into Ireland, because Céad Míle Fáilte is becoming 1,000,000 welcomes, and the welcome is wearing thin.